Hello all, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, based on wherever you are. This is third video into our series of data upgrade from NAV 2016 to Business Central 23. So in the previous video, we did upgrade from NAV 2016 to Business Central 14. And in the other video, we understood how you kind of create an AL extension for your customization. So in the last video, we did talk about the extension. I showed you the steps, and here is my final extension, which have some table extensions as we had, some tables, pages, and page extension. And you can have other objects. That's all fair. And the name of my extension is demo extension, customizations, and the publisher is my name. Remember one thing, that I'm using my prefix as SDH. You should be using your own prefix for all your customizations that you're doing. And that's all from the previous video that you talked about. Now today, what we'll be doing is we will do some preparation, because this is the part one. And then in the next part of this video, we'll actually execute the upgrade steps. And the reason why I'm breaking it into two parts, because there is a lot that need to pay attention to. So I don't want to run fast into it. So that's why we decided to kind of break it into two parts. So let's understand some concepts and things that you need to keep in mind before we move from Business Central 14 to Business Central 23 or any previous version where there's customizations in BC14 CAL. So make sure that you're using Business Central 14 cumulative update 12 or higher. Now there are certain things that were released in Business Central 14 cumulative update 12. If you are using a previous cumulative update, you will not be able to use the steps that we are showing in this video. In the previous videos, we have used cumulative update 10. So I've just installed cumulative update 12 on my machine, and we'll see what happens with that. There are two things that will pop up in this video, which you need to be aware about. One is destination app for migration, and another is migration.json. So now let's understand both of these, because these will be used in this video and the following video according to the Microsoft documentation. The destination app for migration is used while you are upgrading from Business Central 14 to an AL version, and it supports moving the entire table from CAL to AL. So if in your scenario you have any new table in CAL which you would like to move to an AL table, then for that you will need to use this property called destination app for migration. There are some rules. The table ID in AL must be same as it's in CAL. It is not listed into the documentation, but the other thing that we need to remember is that the table name is also same as of CAL. So you cannot have a different name in CAL and a different name in AL. And this is pretty obvious, that the table definition, which is the schema, which is the field IDs, the field names, and the data type and the length of those fields should match to CAL. And the only way to set this into your migration property is by using the set nav configuration, and we'll see how to use it. So for all your new tables, this is what helps you from migrating from CAL to AL, which is destination app for migration. The other important thing that you'll see in this video is migration.json. Now this is required when you have custom fields in base Microsoft extensions or tables. So like in our example that we are using for this demo in this video and have used in the previous videos, you would remember that we had a table, a field in customer and vendor table. For those kind of scenarios, you will need migration.json. Without this, you will not be able to move forward. This JSON file acts as a pointer to the IDs of app where table data need to be moved. It allows you to move table and field data from a code customized, which is CAL customized, to a base application and to an extension of the base application, which we'll be doing in this. While building this JSON, which you'll see as we go forward, you need to make sure that the extension that it is part of it have a target on-prem. So before we go into preparation of it, let's understand the sequence of how it happens. Let's understand the steps. So currently we have a business central 14 with CAL customization. What will happen with this is we'll build a extension which will have all the tables as of BC14 without any code. So there'll be all Microsoft table with your customization, with your tables and all, and there will be no code. There'll just be table and the fields that are needed. And in this extension, we'll also have a destination app for migration, or the property that we'll be using with this extension. So that'll allow to move all our new tables in 50,000 range to a separate extension. And then for the purpose of moving the data, we'll have to create these three empty extensions. One is the system app extension, one is the base app extension, and one is the PTE, or the pertinent extension that we have built for our project. We'll have to create an empty version of it. And don't worry, we'll go through all these steps. Once all this is baked in, we run the steps as listed by Microsoft. The data moves from here to a version 2 of this extension, which have no tables. So all the tables which we had here are kind of removed here, but this version of this extension contains a migration.json. Now remember what a migration.json does. Migration.json lists out all the apps where the data should move, which was stored in this particular app. So first, from a Business Central 14 CAL, you move all your data to an extension which have all the tables, either Microsoft or either your custom tables. Then you create another version of this app which have no tables. So if you look at from a extension perspective, it's a destructive change, but the system does not consider it as destructive because there is a migration.json which defines where this data need to go. So with this, what happens with this migration.json, the data actually moves to the actual system app, actual base app, application app, which is these are the three core apps, and then also to your PTE app. So what we are going to do now is we are going to kind of achieve all this in this particular video. And then in the next one, we'll kind of run those. So as I showed you, this is my extension where I have all the tables and all the table extension. Remember, in this table, I have used the name SDH demo table, whereas in my CAL, the table is called demo table. Now, if you remember the rules of the the settings that we need to set, which is the destination app for migration, you need to have the same table name. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename this table to be my SDH demo table. I'm not changing anything else on any other object. I'm just making sure that this table name is matching to my extension table name that is here. And for that, I'll just compile all these objects so that I don't have any problems on this. That looks good. And then let's also run the sync. This rule does not apply to your custom field. So if you look at it here, on my table extension, the field is called SDS demo field, whereas in my customer table, it is a still demo field, and that's okay. But for all your new table, the name of the table should match to the name of the table that you have in your target. So keep that in mind. Otherwise, you'll see some error messages. So let's go ahead to the Microsoft documentation and try to follow what we need right now. To follow whatever I'm showing right now, you need to have business central 23 also installed, and we'll be following the step 4 and step 5, and then we'll come to all this later at that stage. So here, move code customization to extension, which is task 3. The first step is, or the largest step, is to create an extension for the customization, which we have already done, which is this extension. So all your customs should be part of an extension, which is done. Now, as I said, we need to create empty extensions of the system app, the base app, and our customization. How you do that? It's pretty simple. It says create 3 extensions, and while creating 3 extensions, remember that you have to delete the hello world.al, modify the app.json, make sure that you have these setup properties as it is, and here is a sample given for that. So let's quickly get into it. Okay. So let me create a new one, new folder. Okay. And I don't know how clear it is, so I'll change the theme to black. Maybe that'll be good. Okay. Okay, that looks good. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a new extension, and I have a folder created, which is here. So I'll create a folder called empty apps, and I'll explain you in a while what these are. Empty apps. This is my extension that you just showed, and this is just all Microsoft extension. No worries about it. So in this, I'll create all these 3 apps that we need. So let's do ALGO, choose a folder, and call it as system app. I will set it to 12.0 at this moment, and I don't need to download any symbols. If it pops up, I'll just cancel it. Okay. I don't need it. Okay. Let's go back to the article. And it says in the system application, just make sure that you have all these properties set. Okay. So let me set this hopefully as it is. Okay. Now, the article does not say this, but you need to remember that the only properties that you need are only these. You should remove all the properties that are listed here. I don't need any of these properties. And then, as the article said, we don't need the hello world.al. So what are the properties? This is the system app, which is the application name. The GUID, which is of Microsoft GUID. The publisher is Microsoft. Version is less than the target version, which is 14 in this case. The runtime is the latest, and target is need to be set to on-prem. And let's build this because we'll need this. Okay. In the same way, let's go ahead and let's build the second app, which is my base app. I'll go, and I don't remember the path, so let me copy it here. Okay. And let's do a base application or app. That's okay. Okay. We'll follow the same steps as listed. We don't need a username password. We don't need the hello world. So let's delete this. And in the app.json, let's copy whatever is listed here. So now if you're going to a lower version or to a higher version into the future, you just need to make sure that you set the the target or the runtime to be the right version, because this is for 2023 release wave 2, which is PC 23. But if you're going to a different version, set it to that. So this is my base application, and let's build this. This is also built, so we are good here. And now the last but not least is my, let's see, custom extension. Okay. I'll go now custom extension, the same rule. Okay, I trust the author. I don't need any symbols. Okay, I don't need the hello world. But in this case, what I need is, let's copy it from here. Okay, and I'll paste it here. Now on this, I need the extension ID. So whatever extension that you have created for your customization, take that ID as it is. Okay. Then the name of the extension, which is this, in my case. Then the publisher, whatsoever it is, whatever your publisher name is, these settings should exactly match to your extension that you have. And the version, it should be lower than the final version. So my final version is 23, and just to keep it same, I'll just set it to 14.0.0.0 so that all my empty apps have the same version. Let's build this. So now if you look at it, what I've done here is I have built an empty base app, which is this, and I'll just pull it out so that it's easier. I built an empty custom app, and I've also built an empty system app. Now these three apps will be required in our migration process. So keep that in mind. Read the Microsoft article. Whatever is missing there, I'm listing that out in this video. So just make sure that you follow it. So as I said, the article only says that you create a new extension, you delete the hello world file, and you modify the app.json, and you keep only these. It doesn't say only these, but I have surely tried it out with other properties in there, and it kind of fails. So make sure that your app.json for all the three projects kind of look like this. Based on whatever version you are going, make sure your runtime is set correctly. And don't get confused, here it's saying runtime 12.0. Here it is saying to runtime 11.0. But that varies based on where you're going. If you're going to BC24 in future, this runtime will change accordingly. Hopefully that's clear. So our first part of this major part is completed, or the major task that we wanted to do in this one. In the second one, we have to create a table migration extension. So if you remember the slide that I showed you, that we need to create an extension where there are all tables, but there is no code. And that's what we are going to do right now. That we want to create an extension which have all the table, but without any code. And there will be two versions of it. So you have all these created, these three created. Now we just have to create these two so that going forward, we can use it in our migration. Okay. So you can read it, but what you have to do is you have to create two versions of this extension. For the first version, let's create a folder as it says. Okay. So it says BC14 table only. So we'll just use our folder that we are creating. And I'll just create a folder here. Okay. Now in this, I want to export all the objects. And this is where your export nav application command comes into picture, which is a PowerShell command. So what I'll do is I'll just try to plug in it here and make some changes as needed so that I can then copy paste it from here. You don't have to type it in here. You can place it on Notepad if needed. But it says export nav application object, where your database server is whatever your database server is. If there is an instance, add that instance by just using slash and all. Then my database name, and let me check it here. This is still NAV 2016 NA. So let's keep it as it is. I'm not going to change it right now. Okay. It says export to new syntax, and then it says where to place it. So I'll place it here. Okay. So I'm going to place this in here. And then it says table ID between 1 to 1999999, which is less than 2 million, where your system table kind of pops up. Hope that makes sense. Now to run this, we need the development shell. I have both the versions installed, so my PowerShell will not work. So what I'll go is I'll pick the development cell of Business Level 14. I'll run it as administrator, which is similar to running it from PowerShell if you don't have multiple versions, which I have. So I have to kind of go this route. It's called development shell of Business Level 14. I just copied that command here, export that application object from the server this, where the database is this, export to new syntax and place those in here with a filter of all the tables. As I do next, what I'll do, I'll export out a single file into my this path, which is it's doing, and I'll have all the tables with the code. So I'll have every single table in my BC14 environment, including my custom table, and will have the kind of code and everything into it, right? Now that's being said, but we don't need that. So now if right now if you open this, it'll have everything from the code on different triggers and all, which can be a little bit tricky because we are only exporting tables. So that becomes a problem going forward if we use this. But now when you go back to the article, what it says that once you have exported this, you have to use our favorite text to AL tool. Now the catch here is that this text to AL tool in recent versions, which is CU 12 and higher, have introduced a new property called table data only parameter, which automatically trims any on delete, on validate, on modify code that exists in the code, and it just only keeps the table definition and the field definition into your AL file. But if you are not in the right CU, which is CU 12, then you will have to actually go ahead and do that. So just keep that in mind. I'll just go into this folder, which I'll need in my command prompt. So I'll just do my command prompt, run that as admin, paste it here, and I'll run my text to AL. Now my text to AL is needing a source file and then with these flags. So I'll just copy this and again go back to my this and paste it here. My source is not this folder. My source is actually here. So I'll just change that. Okay. And then my target, it says it should be same and there should be a AL folder, AL name folder. So I'll just create a AL folder if needed here only. What this command should do, should create a AL objects for all the tables that I exported previously and without any code into this particular folder. Now if I come here, try doing this, oh, it did not run that code, which is a little bit weird. Oh, I forgot the CD part of it, my bad. So let me just copy this to a change directory. Okay, and then let me go here, copy this and paste it here. So what I'm doing now is using the text to AL where the source is placed into this folder, which we just exported a while ago. And then I want them into this folder with table data only. Now what this should do, this should create all the tables that I have in my BC14 as it is in that particular folder that I just created, including my custom tables and including all the custom field that I've created. So what I'm doing right now is I'm creating this particular app, which is the V1 app that we need. And there were no errors and everything has been converted. So let's close this. Let's remove these, the timing. Come back here. Let's see what happened. it created all the files, which is nice. Now here it says, which I was telling you, if the table data only parameter isn't available, you need to upgrade, or you need a later version. And then there is a prerequisite which you can read, that it was announced in CU 12 and high. Once you have done, then create a ALGO, a new project. And this time they need your extension to be something like this, which has some specific nuances. I'll keep the name as it is, so that way it'll be easy. Okay, let me create a new folder, new extension. And for that, I'll use this again, this code to place it here, that I want the folder name to be this, and I want that to be placed here. Okay, so that'll become something like this. Okay, so let's do ALGO, use the path, and let's pick the version, hopefully 12.0. If not, I will change it. Okay, done. Okay, now let's understand what's needed here from a Microsoft article perspective. Okay, it says once you do a ALGO, select 12.0, which we did, delete the hello world.al. Okay, so let's delete this, and then configure the name, publisher version, delete the application parameter, which is important, and we'll talk about it in a while why it is important. So there are these two properties. Delete the application one. Okay, clear dependencies if there are any. There are none. Okay, set the ID ranges to cover the table IDs or clear the value. So I'm just clearing the value just to keep it simple, so there is no ID range into it. And then target should be on-prem. Okay, so let me add that. Target is on-prem. Okay, done that. Make a note of the ID, because this ID will be assigned to table migration extension, and you should use this ID later in the process. Don't copy this, just keep it as it is, as you have. And if you want, you can change the publisher to your name if needed. So we have ID, name, publisher, version, which is 1.0. Brief description EULA, no dependency screenshot. We have already deleted the application property, which was here, or the parameter that was here. But now what it says, that manually create a folder called AL packages. And now let's understand this. What happens with the application property, which was here, is it downloads the system application, which then in by turn downloads the base app and the system app, which we did not need it. Now, if you remember in our export command, which was here, and let me go back here, we only exported table from 1 to 19999, household 9 is, which is less than 2 million. So we did not exported anything which is of in the future word of system application, and that may cause problem. So what it says, that manually create a AL package folder, which we do here, new folder .al package, and then in that you need to copy the system app. Where is that? It is stored in your program files inside your local installation. So when I copy this, and I'll have to change this, I know. So let me change this to 230. And here you see the system app. Now the system app actually contains all your system object references. And then you paste that in here, because we do that here. And you paste it here. Now if you notice, and if you haven't, have a look, all the 2 million tables are kind of this part of this, as well as also the code unit. So there are some code unit which are in 2 million, and the permission set and all, they all are part of this system app, which we have downloaded or copied from BC23. So let's go back, and it says now add the AL files that you converted into the root of this folder. Now this is important, that it says all the files that you have converted in the previous step before building this extension, which is using the text to AL tool. You need to add them, and the focus here is root folder. Don't create a subfolder called src or app or something. Just copy all the files into the root folder of the project. So what we are going to do is, let's go back into this, wherever this is, and in here we have this AL folder. Inside this, I'll select all the files, cut them, come back here, and I'll place them into the root. No folder created, just directly placed it into the root. What happens with that? If you notice, all the tables are here, and even if you go into, let's see, my customer table is where? Okay. It's a little bit hard to find, but all your custom fields will be there. So let me do customer. Okay. This is a little bit off, but let's try that. Booking, check. Okay. CRM. Okay. I'm a little bit far, seems. Let me search. It's not here. That's not possible. Okay, here's the customer table. If you notice, going down here, there will be our custom field that we added, which is field 50,000. And the same goes for every other table. Now, if you notice, it says that there are so many problems in it, right? Web service is missing, this is missing and all. It is not able to kind of get those references. Let's reload this and then see what happens. Because it should automatically take those references from the system app, because they all are pointing to those 2 million objects. There might be some issues like this, which is that the profile table is no longer exists. Just remove the table relation if that happens. Okay. Then there seems one more, which is this credit card number on a 829 table, which is completely wrong, because 829 table should have been deleted from this database if I'm not wrong. I'll have to go back and check. 829. Okay. Let's go back to the previous upgrade article. Okay. All your version. Okay. And let me just check it, so that I'll pause it so that you don't get disturbed. I think this table should not exist. Okay, so I did try to review this, and the last time when I ran this was on a business level 14 database where this table did not exist, 827. So I went back and checked on the upgrade from NAV 2016 to business level 14. The table is not listed to be deleted. I thought maybe I missed it, but it's not listed. So let's just remove the table relationship and see what happens. Okay. So I'm also removing the table relationship from here. That gets deleted, and I'll save it. So at this point, there are only warnings at this point. So I can actually build this app at this point by just removing two table relationship. In your case, if there are other errors on the table relationship, then delete it, and there should not be any other error, hopefully. Okay. Now let's quickly check, does our custom table exist here, which starts with an S. SDH, hopefully. Okay, here. So our custom table also exists. So what I'm going to do, you remember the drill, remove the application from here, remove the filter on or the range for IDs so that there is no limit. Make sure that the target is set to on-prem, runtime is 12, and give it a name and the publisher and the version. And then let's build it. This will build an app and which will be available in the folder that we had. Let's go back, and this gives us an app which is the version 1.0. Okay, let me filter it for app, and I'll just copy this outside so that we don't have to come to this folder going forward. Okay, so let's go back to the article and see what we are building. So we were building table only app. So I'll just create a separate folder here called table only apps, and I'll place this, not this, I can just delete this now, but this into this as well as this into this. This needed? No, this is done. So I'll delete this. So empty apps, we have 3 apps. In the table only app, we have 1 app. Now we have to create a version 2 of this. So I'll just copy this as it is to create the version 2 of this. So I'll name it as V2. Whenever we create a new extension, or sorry, version for an extension, the ID and everything remains same. So that's the reason I just copied. And we are here. Create the second version of the app. Now it says in the Visual Studio Code, create a new file called migration.json. So let's do that. On this v2, open with code, and this also need to be created at the root, not inside any folder. This file always exists into the root. I create a new file, name it as migration.json, and in this we have to place something like this. We'll talk about it. Now there are some app rule setting where you place some IDs. Now these IDs not listed in Microsoft article should be in order of dependency. So the first ID, if you notice here, is the ID of the system application, which is the foundation for the base, which is a prerequisite for the base. Then the second ID is for the base application, and the third ID is from our custom extension, because our custom extension needs a dependency from both of these. So what I'm going to do is come back to my extension, check the ID of my custom extension, and add it into my third ID here. This will then derive the data between different extensions. Now remember, if you remember the slide deck, that this extension have no tables and only migration.json, which we did create. But then if you read here, it says that you have to delete all the AL objects other than these 3 tables or 4 tables: bin content buffer, document entry summary, and option lookup buffer. And the reason behind that is because these were changed to temporary table. So if you don't include them, it'll cause a problem in syncing. So from Microsoft side, you just need to keep these table in context. One is bin content buffer. So let's go into the folder directly for v2 and look for bin content buffer. Okay, and I'll just rename it so that it's easier for me. One, then the second is document entry table. Okay, document entry table. Okay, here it is. I'll just also name it as 1. And then third is my entry summary table. Entry summary. That's 1. Last is my option lookup buffer table. Option lookup buffer. Okay. Now, other than these table, I'm allowed to delete every AL file other than the migration.json for sure, right? So we'll just search for migration.json, which is here. So I can just delete all the files going up and removing all these 3, 4, deleting them, going down till end and deleting them. Once I've deleted all this on the v2, I'll just rename back these objects so that they remove the unique identifier from it. Okay. Okay. So we have removed all these tables and now it says open that in VS Code and see everything compiling or not. Okay. We are here. And I forgot to I deleted the app.json, which I should not have, but I have the version 1, so I'll just copy it from here. I should have paid attention to it, but okay, let's copy this here and put it here. Okay, so I have the app.json now. Okay. Because we are building the second version of it, I'll just change the version to be 2.0. Okay. Now, if you look at it, because other table references was removed, you will start seeing, and let me reload this once quickly. You'll start seeing some errors because these 4 tables will have some relationship. Just go ahead and remove those relationship because they are not needed for the migration. So anywhere where you see any errors warning, which typically will be on table relationship, and in one places for permission, just kind of remove them directly. Okay, so let's remove this. And there still seems an error, so I'll just remove this also. Okay, coming back here, access by permission is referencing to a table, so let's remove this. At this point, we are ready. We have already increased the version to 2.0 in my app.json. We have already added my migration.json, which is needed for system app, base app, and my custom app. Now I can build this app, which gives me the version 2 of this app. Good with that. Let's go back to the folder, pick the 2.0 and place it outside. So I already have these 2 files here. Okay. Now we are good to go. Now, before we end this, what I've also done so that you can do it before our next video is I've also copied all these apps which are coming from my BC23 product DVD application folder, which are extension that I would like in my target environment. You can have a smaller list, you can have a bigger list, that's up to you. These are the extensions that I would like to install in my next video while doing the upgrade. Okay, so how we end this? Let's do a quick summary of what we did. We need to remember that for Business Central 14, we are using a cumulative update 12 or higher because the text to AL command have now a new parameter called table data only, or table schema only, whatever that property is. We need to understand about the migration.json and the destination app for migration parameter. Destination app for migration parameter is only used if you have new table in CAL which need to go into a custom app in BC 23 or any other version for that matter. Migration.json helps us to split the data into 2 different apps, which is the base app and the custom app that you are building based on the table extensions. We also need to remember that if there are new tables, they should have the same name in AL as well as in CAL. So if you are not if, you should be using a prefix in while building apps. The same prefix in the name of the table should also exist in your BC14 CAL so that the data can transition. And then we build 3 empty apps for system, base, and our custom extension. And then we build 2 versions of an app which only had tables, and the other one has the migration.json. So be ready with this. In the next video, or the last video most probably of this series, we'll execute the upgrade process as Microsoft listed down. If you have any questions, you know the drill, add it into the comment section. If you think this is useful, hit the like button. If you think others people in the community will be able to learn something from this video, hit the share button and share it on your social media. And if you haven't, which I doubt, subscribe to the channel. Please go ahead and hit the subscribe button to get an update when the next video gets released. Till then, have a good day, and I'll see you in the next video sooner than later.